everything is in the background. That's what it is.
Okay.
So, anyway, that's what we tell our officers and what kind of things are happening. And we work really hard during our training with some great officers that do our self-defense training and tactical training. It works very, very hard to keep our people safe, and it's all a matter of training and that time to do the training. And there's a lot more things that I think we've done in our office, and if you look statewide, and people don't often see these things in the state in the last few years to try to improve this situation that we have. Last night, I would tell you that I'm all the way over here in Ellensburg and happened to have a person that knew who I was and walked up to me and said, "Hey, we're very sorry for what's happening right now."
Mm-hmm.
And I had met that person one time, but they'd seen me somewhere and knew who I was, and just wanted to say, "Hey, we're thinking about your deputies out there and the officers in Mason County." So I think there's a lot more of that than what people think, but we tend to hear a louder voice sometimes in a negative way, but we receive some really wonderful things from our community.
Talk to me a little bit about how you tell your officers that involve themselves with protests. Like last night in response to the event, there were some protests in Olympia. They were marching towards I-5 near Plum Street. Things got out of hand. What do you say to your folks in those kind of situations?
Jeff, I had the experience of being on those protests over there in the Olympia area, and I worked for Thurston County. And the thing is you be very, very patient and very, very understanding. And that's what you have to do. And whether other people sometimes are in the wrong or on that borderline edge of being wrong for what they're doing, you have to maintain your patience and understanding in every one of those circumstances. And going in that people are watching you, and you have to be thinking about what might happen, and you've got to be focused on that issue when you're there.
Talk to me about your thoughts on social media these days. This incident, one of the incidents that spurred the Dallas protests and across the country was this Facebook Live post just after an incident. Is social media helping law enforcement? Is it hindering law enforcement? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it works both ways, Jeff. Obviously, for us in the sheriff's office, when we have an incident that comes up, we worked really, really hard a couple years ago to put in place Facebook and Twitter circumstances so that when we arrive at something, we're able to even notify the major news media. This is what we've got. This is what we're working on, and we'll even snap some photographs that are photographs that won't damage the case or anything, but be able to put those out there for people immediately. In that way, it works in a positive way that the local media or even the media from out of town, they don't have to rush right to the scene because we're already there and we're already be able to feed some information out as quickly as possible. So I think it works in a positive way there. I can tell you that even in our own community, there's a few of these places that have their own little programs. And there was one that's big in the state of Washington, some kind of a neighborhood program where they get on there. And sometimes those that don't have the correct information and start putting out things that are incorrect, communities tend to feed on those. And I think you just have to be careful of your source of information, where it's coming from and how accurate it is.
And finally, Casey, I know you have to move on today, but I wanted to ask you about how the law enforcement community also deals with. Actually, let me go back a second before that to body cameras. The incident in Baton Rouge, it appears as though there may have been body cameras that fell off or were turned off, or who knows, that's still going through. It doesn't seem like there was one in the Minnesota case, and I know you guys had talked about bringing those in. Is that going to be a refocus, you think?
Well, we would like to have them, and I think most agencies would. The challenge is that we're working with the legislature right now. It's just as you know, as on our car cameras. We thought they were tremendously beneficial to have for the deputies and the officers out in the field. But the challenge is when it comes to public disclosure and hundreds of requests for that data, and you have to have somebody to be able to sit down and do redactions on a certain amount of, if there's something in the background that has nothing to do with that case or somebody there, you have to be able to blank those things out, or license plates that have nothing to do with it and things like that. Well, the redaction time in order to meet the public disclosure standards is so expensive and so labor intensive that for every deputy we put out on the street, we have to have two of them doing the redactions during the week. And so and it wasn't just Mason County. It was kind of put out there that we took those out. Most of the agencies in our region pulled those back out for the same reason. It simply costs so much with the laws the way they're written that most agencies pull those out. And until that, it's working its way through the legislature and trying to get some changes to that where we can be more effective. I think they're a good idea, but you also have to understand they still, even though it's there, depending on where you're looking and something's coming from, it doesn't always cover exactly.
Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury calling in this morning to the Daybreak program. Thank you so much, and thanks for calling in.
Okay, take care, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 721 here at iFiber One.
Peninsula Credit Union presents PHIL. PHIL stands for Peninsula Home Improvement Loan, designed to help you get things done around the